In today's session of Divorce Court, Michael Womack granted his dying mother her last wish by marrying Lori, his high school sweetheart. But now, with his mother gone, Lori says Michael wants out.
I didn't have a chance to experience life. I didn't have a chance to do anything.
If you cared about me and you loved me, you wouldn't have done that to me.
I told her all the time, look, give me a little bit of space, let me breathe.
And then it comes down to where he wants to go ahead and hurt me by divorcing me, and then the fact that I find out that there's a rumor going around that you're with a 40-year-old that's also married, who also has 3 children of her own, and one that's the same age as me that I went to school with.
Where we worked, if you talked to somebody, you were sleeping with them.
I talk to Joe all the time.
Yeah,
is that the rumor going around that you're not sleeping together?
Not that I've heard, Your Honor.
He was on the phone for maybe hours, and then me, I have go down the bedroom, hit the speakerphone, and notice that it is her that you're talking to,
no,
and saying, "Oh, I miss you."
No, it wasn't even her.
It was another woman?
No, Your Honor.
But she says the pain didn't stop there.
I was shot by a 12-gauge shotgun.
Shot?
By a 12-gauge shotgun.
Oh, my goodness.
By him.
By Mr. Womack?
Yes.
It killed me. It killed me when this happened to her. And she hung it over my head.
Today, Lori Womack and Michael Womack come face to face one last time in divorce court.
All rise. Court is now in session. Maybelline Ephraim presiding. You may be seated.
Good day, ladies and gentlemen. This is the matter of Lori Womack versus Michael Womack, and I'm advised that your childhood sweetheart has now become your nightmare, Mr. Womack. And how did that happen?
Well, it all started in '97, December of '97. My mother was diagnosed with cancer, and during that time, Lori and I had planned on getting married, and my mother had 2 dying wishes to see Lori and I get married and my sister graduate from high school.
Did you love your wife?
Yes.
And how long had you dated?
About 2 years.
2 years? And your plan was to be married when?
Well, I didn't want to get married until after I got my career, settled, until after I had enough money to settle down.
So you wanted to be able to be responsible and to have your career going and have a good job and be ready to provide and support your wife. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
So Mrs. Womack, you seem a little upset about all of this. Is he not telling the truth?
Well, basically, it was 3 years we've been dating for each other, before we got married and everything. And the fact
3 years instead of 2.
2 years. We've been together 3 years. And before that, I spoke to his mother in person, and she told me the fact that if we love each other, then we have then we can go ahead and get married.
So in other words, his mother was giving you her blessing and saying,
yes,
if you love each other enough, despite the fact that you're young, go on and get married.
And in fact, don't just do it for her, do it for each other. If you love each other deep enough, then you go ahead and get married.
Now, see, my
so
mom,
you
and
thought
I did
that's
love
why
him
you got
very
married.
much. I did.
And I loved her too.
So when did you find out he only married you to grant his mother's dying wish?
Oh, let me see. The time when we first moved out in May, when we finally moved out for his father, that he has family in Wisconsin, in fact, he comes out and he tells me a week later, we have to talk, and I don't think it's going to be that good or so. And I'm like, why? And he's like, well, I have something to tell you. I think we believe that we should be split for a while. And I was real shocked about that because.
So that was the first time you ever found out that he really didn't want to marry you when he did?
No.
So you're telling me that the 2 of you sat down and discussed this before you married?
Actually, yes, we did. We did discuss about everything before we got married.
And you thought it was both of your decision to do it at the time that you did it?
Yes.
Because you loved each other?
Yes.
In the beginning, we had our own freedom, but it was basically got to the point to where we were stuck on each other's hip all the time.
How did you have so much freedom if you dated for 3 years and you, started dating in high school?
Yes, we started dating here in '96.
So you really didn't date anybody else. You went from high school to being adult to yourself, to each other, to being husband and wife, right?
Yes.
So you hadn't experienced other relationships and
we hadn't experienced
life. And we've also
life.
lived with each other also for almost that 3 years.
Yeah.
So you've lived together for 3 years?
Yeah.
Yes, we
well,
did.
no, we lived together with my parents.
But that meant that Mrs. Womack was in the same house with you.
Yes.
And the two of you were dating each other, living together, and helping take care of your parents.
Yes.
Yes.
So it was just too much. You just felt like you were being suffocated. Is that
Yeah,
it?
I didn't have a chance to experience life. I didn't have a chance to do anything. I
You
mean,
didn't have a chance to enjoy being a young adult.
no.
And then it comes down to where he wants to go ahead and hurt me by divorcing me, and then the fact that I find out that there's a rumor going around that you're with a 40-year-old.
Yeah.
So what are these rumors that you heard?
I've heard rumors that from work, because I'm close friends with these people I work with, and they tell me that Michael's been fooling around with some 40-year-old woman that's also married, who also has 3 children of her own, and one that's the same age as me that I went to school with, and I have to put up with
40-year-old woman, 3
working with a
children.
woman
Your
at
Honor,
that job.
that's nothing but a rumor.
Wait a minute, 40-year-old woman, 3 children of her
Yeah, and it's nothing
children
but a rumor.
her age, and you're telling me you don't want responsibility, and you're dealing with a 40-year-old woman with 3 children?
That is nothing but a rumor.
Did you do anything or say anything with this older woman to give your wife reason to suspect that there may be something more than just talk?
Where we worked, if you talk to somebody, you were sleeping with them. That's all there was to it.
So it's just that kind of rumor.
It's people talk, and they.
Well, I talk to Joe all the time.
Yeah,
Is that the rumor going
but
around
the
that you
thing
and
of
I
it
are
is-
sleeping together?
Not that I've heard, Your Honor.
Where
I
we
hope
work,
not.
where we work, you can't talk to somebody without, everybody's. If they can't gossip, they'll like shrivel up into nothing.
So you're telling me their lives are so dull they just have to make up stories?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Is there anything that he did or said that you know about Mrs. Womack that makes you suspicious?
Well, it made me suspect something of the fact when he moved out finally, a couple weeks before his father passed away, he was on the phone for maybe hours and then locked the door in his dad's room for not letting anybody know who he's talking to on the phone. And then me, I have to go down the bedroom, hit the speakerphone, and notice that it is her that you're talking to.
No,
and
it's the
saying, oh, I
40-year-old.
miss
No.
you and all this
Hold
and
on a
everything.
second. What is he saying to her?
She's saying on the phone, oh, I miss you, I haven't talked to you in a while and everything like that. So that right there got me suspected.
And
that
they
there
work
was something
together,
going
so
on.
how is he missing? Why is she missing you and not talking to you in a while? And she's a co-worker. Don't you see her every day?
Yes.
So what did
My
that
point
mean?
exactly. It wasn't even her.
Oh,
See,
it was
It was
another
her
woman.
voice.
Right, but the thing of it is
It was
that
another woman?
no, Your Honor.
Ah.
It gets to the point to where
No,
okay,
answer my question. Who's the voice on the other line? I miss you and haven't talked to you in a while.
it wasn't another woman. It was just.
She said it was
a
a
friend of
female's
hers.
voice.
It was a friend of hers and mine. Why is she ridiculing me? She moved back to Pennsylvania the same day she moved back after we were split up. She slept with my best man.
Oh.
Slept with your best
Lie.
man?
With the best man in my wedding. I couldn't go to the store without her saying, I want to go with you.
So was at one time you loved all that though, huh? You always wanted her on your hip and you didn't mind her being around.
No, I told her all the time, look, give me a little bit of space, let me breathe. And it got to the point to where we were arguing so much that my father just like, look, if you guys can't get along, get the hell out of my house. That's what he said.
So after a while, the 3 years of being together and loving each other and the romance, it's just ended. You wanted to see the world and meet some other people and spread your wings.
Yes.
So you just realized, unfortunately, too soon after the death of your mother, that you just weren't ready to be married. You had just married too young, and that wasn't what you wanted.
That's exactly.
Not that you don't
what it is.
love her, it's just that you're not ready for the commitment of marriage, and you shouldn't have done it, but you were trying to not hurt your mother.
Right. And the whole thing of it is that
But now you're hurting Mrs. Womack.
the way I feel is, like I told her, her and I can still keep in close contact. We can still be friends. You know what I mean? I still want to be, because of the fact that I do care about her,
And you may
she
just
cares
remarry
about me.
again after you get a little older and more matured and
Yes.
realize that this was a good lady and you should have never put her down.
Yes.
Well,
What
I can
about-
say is that if you cared about me and you loved me, you wouldn't have done that to me.
Wouldn't have done what? Told you that he didn't want to be with you?
Yes. And then for me to get rumors about a 40-year-old,
Lori, what about,
know,
what about
I
the
don't
5
I don't
guys that you
respect
slept
that.
with since July?
5 guys?
woo,
What about that, Mrs. Womack?
that is not even true. You're
My
just putting
best
that down
man.
on me because of
My
the fact I
best
told
man.
her about the 40-year-old
Okay.
woman.
So now you're doing rumors too?
No, these are not rumors. She told me herself.
When divorce court returns, Lori testifies about the night she was nearly killed.
I was shot by a 12-gauge shotgun.
Shot.
By a
Shot in the
12-gauge
Oh
shotgun.
my goodness.
By him.
By Mr. Womack.
Yes.
And Michael testifies about living with the burden of nearly killing his wife.
She would get mad at me and say, well, you shot me in the back. I have to relive that moment every day of my life.
If you would like to have the judge hear your case in divorce court, call us toll-free at 1-877-311-2222 or email us at www.divorcecourttv.com. Divorce Court is back in the case of Michael Womack, who says the only reason he married Lori was to grant his dying mother her last wish.
I can imagine that you were hurt, but going out with other men and ruining your character and changing your integrity.
Trying to get back at me.
That's not good to try to get back with him, because all that does is make Mrs. Womack a different person than what you are, and it takes away from the beauty that's there with you.
But you know what, though? I've asked him. I had a tremendous accident in April, okay? I was shot by a 12-gauge shotgun.
Shot?
By a 12-gauge
Oh,
shotgun.
my goodness.
By him, okay?
It wasn't
Shot, not shot by Mr. Womack.
Yes. And in the fact,
We were
I
packed-
asked him if he would pay the bill, help me pay the bill out, because the bills are like $1,100.
Wait, tell me, how were you shot with a 12-gauge shotgun?
We were packing up, okay, we were packing up, and I took the gun off the gun rack and turned around and put it on the bed, and the gun went off. Now, the gun was not loaded when I put it up there.
It's been sitting for 2 years.
It's been sitting up there for 2 years.
So you don't know how it got loaded?
I don't know if my sister's friends were in there and loaded it and didn't know how to unload it and just were afraid to say something.
That's the problem with having shotguns around the house. So did you think it was an accident, or did you think he did it deliberately?
Because of the fact.
Did you think that your husband shot you deliberately?
I don't know, because when I turned around and I saw him
Seriously, not
pointing
because
it.
you're angry now. Think about it. Do you really think that he shot you deliberately?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
But the thing is that it scared me, you know, when I turned around and he's sitting there holding it up, goofing around at me, and I'm telling him, you know, hold.
Goofing around. I turned around.
You know,
I took the gun off the gun rack and turned around and put it on the bed.
No, you didn't.
How badly were you hurt?
I had a graze across my back, enough to almost hit my neck. The doctor told me if I was at another 2-degree angle, I wouldn't be here today. It was at least 2 inches from my spine.
So it didn't. So it was in your back, but
Yes.
No, it
16
was a
pellets
graze wound.
you had a graze wound.
Yes.
Oh, thank
And
God
I still
for that.
have 8 pellets in me from that.
So now you're feeling that you're feeling bad that he left you after all of that. Is that what you're saying?
But I'm thinking, yes, in a way, yes, I am thinking that. Because of the fact, after this has happened, and everything, in 3 weeks I've been out of the job and all, and then it comes down to the next month when we move, he comes and tells me that we should get a divorce. And right there it stopped, I stopped and thinking,
So
why?
wait a minute, right after his mother dies, then you move to another place, then you get shot,
Oh, I got shot
while you're
before we
moving,
moved.
and then you're out of a job. Now your husband says, I don't want you anymore. So you're just
That's
devastated.
not true. See, she went back to work, and I mean, so many people saw it. It killed me. It killed me when this happened to her.
So many people saw what?
So many. Well, what I'm about to tell you. So it killed me to know that this happened to her,
Why?
and she got shot, and she hung it over my head. She would walk around, and she would get mad at me and say, "Well, you shot me in the back." I mean, and I have to relive that moment every day of my life.
So that's another reason why you said it's time to get out of this marriage.
And
Because she's hanging that over your head and not
Yes.
forgiving you for it.
right.
Now, what may this court do for you to help you move on?
Well, I believe his father has left his 3 children, him, his sister, and his older brother, money from in an account.
An inheritance.
Yes.
But that's
And
my
another
inheritance.
thing-
Let her tell me what she's saying.
And another thing is that I spoke to his father, the time he was sick and everything. Michael was not around at the time. And he told me that, you've done so much for me. You've done so much for this family and everything. You've helped us out, you've paid rent, and I thank you for that. You've been there with Kathy all that time, the time she was sick. And he says, I will give you at least 1,000 of that share of the money that he was going to give to his kids.
So the father promised you at least 1,000.
He never promised.
Did he tell you
Yes.
that?
He
You
never
weren't
said
there.
anything to me.
She says you weren't there when your father
Right,
was
but
dying.
I spoke to my father every day. Right now, as it is, I have nothing. Because of all the money that I had to give my father, the only thing I have is the money that's going to be coming from his inheritance.
Anything else you want to tell me, Ms. Woman?
No.
Anything
Not
else
at
you
all.
want to tell me about the inheritance? Why she should or should not have part of it?
She shouldn't have it because...
Other than what you've already told me. Don't repeat
Oh,
yourself.
I understand that. She shouldn't have it because I am entitled to it. I need it.
Okay.
And I believe that, in fact, I do deserve to have
And you
at
think
least
that
half
you
of it
deserve
because
it.
I've been hurt. And, you know, I've loved his family very much. You know, they've done a lot for me, and I've been there, you know, all the time when they were sick.
Okay.
He was back in Pennsylvania the time his father died, and he didn't spend any time with his
Okay,
father.
now you're repeating yourself. Anything else you want to tell me other than what you've already said?
No.
All right, I'm going to take a break.
Court will be at recess.
When divorce court returns, the judge renders her verdict. And an update on the case of Rachel Wells versus Philip Wells.
You need to act like a grown man.
All right, then talk to me like a grown man.
How can I
and
talk
not
to you
like
like a grown man if you acting like a 14-year-old?
Divorce court is back and the verdict is in the case of Lori Womack, who says her husband Michael not only cheated on her, but also accidentally shot her in the back with a shotgun.
We're back in the matter of Lori Womack versus Michael Womack. This is a case where I think that is very sad that both of you have experienced the pain and hurt that you have. I think what happened here is that the two of you had lived together for 3 years, longer than a lot of people remain married together. And those 3 years were, for you, what marriage is. And I think that this marriage or this relationship would have ended at some point anyway. You had stood each other long enough. What had happened was you started living together much too young. You started falling in love with each other much too young without having experienced life and other people. You really didn't know what you wanted. Mrs. Womack, I think you have anger because you're feeling that you've lost both families now. You lost the mother, the one person that became a mother to you and a father to you, and now they're no longer there for you. And now you're about to lose your husband. All of these people whom you depended upon and became your life and your breath. And you did not allow yourself to form other relationships. Unfortunately, if his father wanted you to have something from his estate, he should have written out a will. He could have written it in his handwriting and said, I give to Lori $1,000. Did he write that in his handwriting? Did he give it to you?
He wrote out a will, and she was not included in the will.
Okay, well, you didn't tell me that. So at least I figured that out from the law. So if he had wanted you to have that, that's what he would have needed to say. But the law is that inheritance from one parent to the children is their inheritance. Even when you're married, it's that person's separate property. It does not have to be divided equally. It does not have to be shared. If Mr. Womack wants to do so out of the goodness of his heart, then he may, but this court can't order it. I wish you both well. And Mr. Womack, remember, you had a good person there. Hopefully you can remain friends and you can move on with your lives. And I wish the best for both of you. It's not too late to start those careers and to do what you wanted to do. Court's adjourned.
All rise. Parties may leave the courtroom.
When divorce court returns, an update on the case of Rachel Wells versus Philip Wells.
You can't run every time you don't like something I said. You
Because
cannot
you belittle
run.
me.
You cannot
You
run.
try to be my mother instead of my wife.
If you would like to have the judge hear your case in divorce court, call us toll-free at 1-877-311-2222 or email us at www.divorcecourttv.com. And now for an update on a previous case in divorce court. Rachel said when she married Philip, she promised to be a wife and also a mother to his 3-year-old child. But she said Philip left her and his 3-year-old daughter behind.
You can't run every time you don't like something I said. You
Because
cannot
you belittle
run.
me.
You cannot
You
run.
try to be my mother instead of my wife.
You need to act like a grown man.
All right, then talk to me like a grown man
How
and
can I
not
talk
like
to
a
you like a
child.
grown man if you acting like a 14-year-old?
Rachel said she wanted to be reimbursed for money she spent on his 3-year-old daughter.
I didn't sit there and waste my time with her. I didn't do what I had to do for her, for him to be evil. It doesn't have to be this. He can support her now.
The judge denied her request, but ordered Philip to pay child support. Rachel is still taking care of Philip's daughter, but he says he will soon have his own apartment so his child can be with him. And Rachel has dropped her plans of adopting the little girl.
I'm going to move on and start a new career and basically hopefully find what I'm looking for.
I'm going to go and be a police officer. That's all there is to it. I'm going to work my butt off. I'm going to be a police officer. I'm basically going to get my life back together.
I'm still angry and still pretty upset for what he's done to me.
I'll never get married again.